I'm Gail Eichenthal, and we're so thrilled to have William Goldstein, composer, instant composer, pianist, musician extraordinaire, at the studios of KUSC. Welcome.
It is my extreme pleasure to be with the esteemed Gail Eichenthal.
You're too kind. Well, we love hearing your music cycles on the air, and I'm sure other works as well will be featured on the air. Your background is so interesting because it's so unconventional for a successful musician. And I gather it all started very young. You were picking things out on the piano at a toddler's age. Is that right?
Basically, yes. I mean, completely unconventional. I grew up in a non-musical home. There was no piano in the home. Parents not particularly musical. My dad was in the hotel business, so during the summer we lived in the summer hotel in Belmar, New Jersey, and there was a piano in the ballroom. And I'm told I was 3 or 4. I'd go over and start, picking out stuff on the piano. By the time I was 8 years old, I could go to the movies and come back and play themes, songs, two hands. Never took piano lessons. Began to develop a technique. I never took piano lessons. I sound classically trained. It's a miracle in itself. And by the time my parents decided, hey, the kid plays. Let's get him a piano. So weeks ago, early May, I think it was May 1st, we were at Columbia University Teachers College, where I was interviewed by Professor Raymond Burroughs when I was 9. Some sophisticated person at the hotel must have said, hey, let's get this kid. Let's do something about this kid. And Burroughs heard me play, gave my mother all kinds of advice, none of which was practicable for her or my dad to execute because we lived about an hour and a half south of the city in Lakewood, New Jersey. In the old days, they send the kid to live with a family and send him to conservatory. And at the end of a long interview, my mom asks Burroughs, well, will we be harming his chances of development if we don't do this? And Burroughs said, well, it would be like trying to stop the river heading towards the sea. He will continue to grow, and when he gets to a point where he needs a teacher, he'll find one. And that was basically my early beginnings.
So what he heard was something very dramatic and different. And that was, as I understand it, your ability to sit down and play what you heard.
Also, I was probably making up things already, but I mean, I wasn't. I don't remember what I was doing when I was 8 or 9.
Wasn't there also an issue with your parents' religion that you couldn't take lessons on Saturday?
Yeah. All right. So here's the deal. First, Burroughs says, "Oh, this is great. Put him across the street in Juilliard." Well, take me up every day to go to Juilliard after regular school. I mean, Juilliard did not have a grade school, but they would have taken a special student on a daily basis. That didn't work. Then Burroughs said, well, what about a Saturday? Well, my folks were Orthodox, and they weren't going to send me anywhere on Shabbos. So he said, okay, how about a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday? My mom just didn't feel that she and my dad could make arrangements with their busy life. My mom also... I had a younger brother who was 6 years younger than me, who was like 2. It wasn't going to work. So that's when my mom I don't know whether she thought Burroughs knew a teacher that lived on our block in Lakewood, New Jersey. One of my earliest childhood recollections is him saying to my mom, it would be like trying to stop the river heading towards the sea. And then in a way that sustained me. And of course, one of the big ifs in my life is what would have happened if Mom had taken Professor Burroughs' advice. Because of the documentary, there's been a lot of wonderful things that have started happening, and I'm also been reflecting on all of these things that I just haven't thought about in a very long time.
Well, I gather I read somewhere that you had a teacher who wanted you to read music, and you were playing by ear, and that's always a tension with people who have a talented musical ear. Having not had such an ear, I was studious and practiced and
you must have read Beverly Cohn's interview.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was. Yeah. All right. So there was a teacher in Lakewood, New Jersey, Miss Cafaro, who was a Juilliard grad, and it lasted maybe a month, 2 months. She would play something, and I would play it back. You're not reading it. You have to stop playing by ear. It really wasn't possible. It wasn't possible.
So I'm really interested in that aspect of the gift that you have. Because for most of us who study music, we might have a decent ear or a good ear or even a sense of perfect pitch, but we do not have the ability to place what was going on in our head and to create from scratch, and certainly to duplicate, a movie score or a Brahms symphony. But it does make it really hard to have the discipline and patience to read music,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But yet you have to have learned how to read music.
Yes, of course. Well, it's interesting. So when I was, I think, 7th grade, I picked up the trumpet. I wanted to play with the school band. I had a fabulous high school music teacher, Frank Unger, who also took me on in middle school. And so I learned how to read treble clef. I was really good. I made it to all-state band. One of my best friends was a wonderful trumpet player named Lou Soloff, who was the lead with Blood, Sweat, and Tears. A famous spinning wheel solo was Lou. Lou passed away. I did a musical eulogy for him that is now printed in 2 editions by Edition Peters. It's one of the 2 instant compositions that they've already put out. I arranged one version for trumpet and piano, and then for brass quintet. But I couldn't read bass clef. I couldn't notate. So I was struggling. Then when I became a composition major, I became a composition major because I had a really fast learning curve. My first 2 years of college, I was a freshman at 17. I was on a joint program with Trenton State College in Juilliard to get a music ed degree. But I started going so fast that by the time I was 18, when I was 17, I couldn't really notate and orchestrate. When I'm 18, I composed and orchestrated my first orchestral piece performed by the Lakewood Civic Symphony. I conducted. I was on the front page of the Asbury Park Press, and I said, hey, if I can do this without studying, what happens if I study? So I decided to become a composition major, and I applied to Juilliard and Manhattan School of Music. And in the halls of Juilliard, Vittorio Giannini, after my interview, came out and said, hey, Goldstein, I like you. I want you to come to Manhattan School of Music. I said, why, Maestro? He said, because here you'll see me 1 hour a week. There you'll see me 4 hours a week. So I went to Manhattan School of Music as a comp major. You had a minor in piano. I had an incredibly wonderful piano teacher named Sonia Vargas. I played really well. I read terribly. Sonia Vargas forced me to read. And when I thought I was used to scanning and just filling in. No, she would stop me. And I had to just read painfully every note. So now I love reading Bach inventions and things. I was improvising in the style of Bach before I knew Bach. I mean, I had a general instinct towards counterpoint.